And today I am going to demonstrate a step-by-step guide to getting free SSL onto your website. Okay, so what I am going to do now, I'll pop that one up. That's a lovely thing to say, thank you. So what I'm going to do now is I've actually been, I've prepared a slide. So I'm going to share my screen now. Okay, hopefully, yeah, you should be able to see that. So this is a step-by-step guide to free SSL. And if you're watching on my personal profile, then you have a short link there so that you can join the group. So do join us. The more people we have in the group, the more conversations we have, the more we can help people. So that will be wonderful. Okay, let us have a look. I'm just going to take a sip of coffee. Okay, so moving on to the first slide. Before we get into how to install SSL, I thought it would be quite helpful, first of all, to look at why you need SSL in the first place. So I have a number of points here. I'm going to take that comment off, Paul, so that we can see the full slides. Okay, so first and foremost, if you're collecting sensitive information, like a contact form does, then you really need to have SSL installed, because otherwise, if people see a warning there that your site is not secure, they're going to think twice before they go ahead and they give you email addresses and personal information that could be taken by hackers. So that is a very important reason to have SSL. Secondly, if you're providing customer accounts via your website. Thirdly, if you want to allow any financial transactions, if you're taking any money at all. I'm not even sure that Stripe and the other payment gateways will even allow you to proceed without SSL installation. And I know as a customer, I would never enter into any transaction where I know that the data that's being transmitted from my location to that site, if I knew that that was not secure, there's no way I would be providing credit card details. So something else to think about. And similarly, if you've got a store, you need to have SSL. And if you're thinking, well, I haven't got SSL and I'm still getting people contacting me and I'm still securing transactions despite it, think how many people are seeing the warning that your site is not secure and are just clicking away. You won't even know how many of those are unless you have a pixel installed and are checking out that information. So you have no idea how much custom and how many potential leads you are losing as a result. Another very important reason, and to me this is the most important one, is if you want to demonstrate credibility and trustworthiness, then your site needs to be secure. If it's not secure, I should turn my phone onto silent. I need to add that to my checklist. I really do. I shall do that now. My apologies. Okay. So if you want to show that you are credible and trustworthy, then having an SSL certificate installed is first and foremost. It really is. I remember going onto a website and it was for, let me think, I think it was for a locksmith, and the irony there did not escape me at all, that they were offering secure solutions for people's homes and their site wasn't secure. There were a number of financial institutions as well, smaller ones, brokers. I found a whole raft of them who had insecure sites, and that just makes no sense to me. There's just a huge irony there. And I actually phoned one of them and I said to them, do you know that your site is not secure? Do you know what warnings are coming up to visitors? And I showed him and he was horrified, and he got in touch with the developer that he had, and I believe certainly told him that he was not impressed with that, and rightly so. So those are all the reasons why you need to have SSL installed on your site. Let's go to the next slide. So here's a site that I'm working on. I don't install SSL on my sites until the end, simply because it doesn't matter at that stage. They're normally on an obscure URL. They're not on their final resting home, whatever the domain is. I don't normally build on those domains, and if I do, there'll be a page up there saying coming soon or whatever. But normally I build on my own subdomains, and no one's going to land on them because they're pretty obscure. So you can see here, I clicked on this one earlier today and took a screenshot. This is what you see. Let's have a look. So I have the URL is here. I've actually cropped it a little, but if you imagine your browser bar is just up where my cursor is, and you have a warning here, and you click on it, and this is what pops up. Your connection to this site is not secure. You should not enter any sensitive information on this site, like passwords or credit cards, because it could be stolen by attackers. Now, if you're trying to get your name out there, you're trying to build a brand and portray yourself as trustworthy and credible, then the last thing you want is Google telling people this about your site. So it makes absolutely no sense to have an insecure site. And you know it's insecure because it won't have the padlock next to the browser. And I will show you what I mean shortly. So these are all reasons why it's absolutely essential that you do have SSL installed. So hopefully I have by now convinced you of the need and the importance to have an SSL certificate installed. Okay, so there are a number of options, and the most common one and the free one is called Let's Encrypt. And it's a free certification authority. And it's compatible with all the major sources of traffic. The only platforms that it's really incompatible with are the likes of BlackBerry and a few others, but that shouldn't be an issue for you. The other thing is that you, because it's free, you're not paying for customer support or any form of warranty. That said, I personally have had no issues with using Let's Encrypt at all. I haven't had any need for customer support, except for one situation. And that situation is where you have mixed content on your website, but that generally occurs at the website level. And I'm going to, if we have time, because I see time is marching, but if we have time, I'll show you how you can fix any mixed content issues that might arise even though you have an SSL certificate installed. And I'll explain a little bit more about what I mean there shortly. So I might pause for a moment and just see if anybody has any questions so far. Just make sure that I am making sense. I'm just going to move that and see. Yogesh Saini has joined us. Welcome to our live. Now, anybody else? Anyone have any questions before I continue? Type something, please. Otherwise, I don't know and I cannot help. Anyone have any questions? Or anyone just want to let me know if they're finding this helpful so far? Or if anyone just wants to type Sharon Henderson. Let's have some participation, guys. Come on, come on, come on. Jay Palmer, welcome. Jay has just joined us. Great to have you with us. Anything, get those fingers typing. That's what it's all about. If you enter something in the comment box, then Facebook spreads this to a wider audience, so more people benefit, and it makes the work that I do more worthwhile. Jeff, SSL is good for 1 year, correct? Very, very good question. And we also have Steve Heinlein. Helpful here. Wonderful. Thank you. I really appreciate that. So, Jeff, this is a really good question. Interestingly, if you want to rank on Google, then what they actually look for is 2 years plus. So if you can buy a domain, sorry, I'm actually talking across purposes here. I beg your pardon. SSL is good for 1 year. SSL, yes, you renew it. You can renew it annually, but my brain is firing off in 2 different places at once because it actually had me thinking about another issue, which is domain names, which is a real side issue, but never mind. I was just doing some SEO on a site, and I saw that someone had purchased a domain name for just a year, and actually Google much prefers for you to sign up for 2 years plus because it shows permanence. So it's a bit of a side issue, but relevant to SEO. So just a little pointer there, because something that I was meaning to write an article about SEO. So obviously SSL is just as important for SEO as well. Matthew Letner, welcome. Good to have you join us. Okay. So any other questions on that, Jeff, or shall I move on? Let me pull up my slides again. Okay, let's move to the next slide then. Okay, so I'm going to just take that one down. So, so Let's Encrypt is one option. Now, because it's free, it's not a commercial certificate authority, unlike SSL certificates that are issued by companies such as Comodo. The very fact of having a Comodo certificate, it's more kudos, and there is a sense of it providing more security for you. Although I personally think Let's Encrypt is absolutely fine unless you need for it to operate on the less mainstream platforms like BlackBerry. But I think that Let's Encrypt is absolutely fine. But if you want like kudos, then you can go for a Comodo certificate, and usually it will cost you money for that. And the reason that it will cost you money is because they do provide customer support 24/7 via live chat. So if you are having issues with the SSL actually resulting in the padlock that you want to have demonstrated as showing in the browser, or next to your URL in the browser box, then they will help you with that. That said, if you're going with a reputable host company, they should be able to help you anyway. So I'm not so convinced that Comodo is essential. Just like Let's Encrypt, it really is just a few clicks and you're away with that for installation. There is superior security and recognition attached to it because it's a paid one. It's not a free one. If you did want Comodo, you normally, as I say, you have to pay for it. But with the hosting that I provide, it's completely free. So that is pretty awesome, I think. And if you're interested in hosting with me, let me know in the comment box, send me a message and we can chat about that. You'll pay no more than you would for your average shared hosting plan, and it'll be a lot more secure and a lot faster. So, okay, so that is basically covering the two main options that you have for SSL. And both options are free if you go with hosting with me. So let's move on to the next slide unless we have any questions. Actually, I see one here from Jeff. Let's have a look. Thank you, Jeff. There are different forms of SSL, right, Sharon? Correct. And hopefully I have answered that question now, Jeff. Thank you for that. Okay, so let's just move on. So how to install an SSL certificate. So I'm going to do a little demo. You're going to be pleasantly surprised how super simple it is. So without further ado, let me move to CPanel. And I'm going to use Siteground just because with my hosting, SSL is automatically set up at hosting level. You don't have to do it yourself. So that makes it much easier on the one hand, but makes it a little trickier for me to demonstrate installation of SSL using my hosting because it's already done automatically. So I'm going to go into Siteground, and I apologize ahead of time for the fact that it may be painfully slow. I find the back end incredibly slow with Siteground. So let's see, if I click that, does that make any changes? No. So I'm going to have to stop that screen share, if it'll let me. And I am going to share my CPanel. with you. I might actually first go back a step before I share. I'll just go back a step so that I can go from the beginning for you. Okay, let's have a look. Application window, and we want to go with that one. Click share. Okay, so this is Siteground. And I think I've told you the tale. Let's just put that there. I think I've told you the tale before of how I used to be with Cloudways, which is cloud hosting. Just need a cup of coffee. My throat's a bit funny. There we go, it's better. So I think I may have told you the tale about Cloudways and how I really love them. They're cloud-based hosting, super sonically fast, brilliant. They don't have CPanel like you see here. This is CPanel for anyone who's not familiar, which has an array of tools that are readily accessible. They have a different platform, different interface, and it takes some getting used to. You can't just head into File Manager, for example, and start changing things. That's File Manager there, which is really handy to have. You have to do everything by FTP, which it can be a bit of a pain to set up at times. Anyway, I was with Cloudways, and I found them to be really good, and my websites were incredibly fast, never had any security issues, but they had an issue with something called Varnish, and I won't bore you with the details, but to cut a long story short, what that did was it caused a massive conflict with a lot of my sites that stopped working. And I was trying to get assistance from them, and around about the same time, excuse me, their support just went down the gurgler. It became absolutely awful. It was taking hours and hours to get any sense out of anybody because they must have been handling multiple chats at any one time. And then rather than answering the question, they'd ask a silly question to delay having to spend time on that chat, and then went back to other chats, and it drove me crazy. And in the end, I had to move all my sites to various different places, and I moved some of them to Siteground. And within 30 days of moving to Siteground, one of my sites was hacked, and I've never had a site hacked before. And I am on the Go Geek plan. I paid for a year's worth. So once that's up, I will move everything away from them. But for now, it's here. I've had to implement a lot of other security strategies to make sure that none of my other sites are hacked. But it just shows you shared hosting is far more susceptible to security vulnerabilities than cloud hosting. Anyway, I digress. So this is your cPanel. And what we're looking for here is SSL. So I'm going to scroll down to SSL. And with Siteground, you only really have the option for Let's Encrypt through cPanel. So I'm going to click on Let's Encrypt here. All right, and these are all the ones that already have Let's Encrypt installed, all my websites here, and clients' websites. This one here that you see does not yet have SSL installed, and there's a few others there. That's a staging site, and these are ones that I'm not using, so I don't need them to be to have SSL installed. But that said, I could go ahead and install SSL on them now. I'm just thinking how long that will take, and I don't have any great elevator music to play you while it's installing. So maybe I'll just go through the process with you and show you, as opposed to us waiting while it actively installs, because it can take a little bit of time to actually implement the installation. But just to show you how easy it is, you don't need Let's Encrypt Wildcard SSL unless you have a whole host of subdomains and you want to apply the SSL to the main domain. So for that, I'm, for example, talking about here, the domain here is kiwiearthmother.com. Business is the subdomain. Now, if I have lots and lots of subdomains, like here, I've got another one here, KEMfunnel.kiwiearthmother.com. So I could install a wildcard SSL on the KiwiEarthMother.com that covers all those subdomains if I wanted to, but you have to pay for that, and I don't need to do that. But if you're ever wondering what does the Let's Encrypt wildcard SSL mean, that's what it's for. It's to cover any subdomain on that domain. So all I have to do here, and we can do it, it doesn't matter, it's just probably not going to complete in time for us, and would not be very scintillating to sit here and watch it install. But I'll click on install, and it really, here we go, successfully installed. It hasn't really successfully installed. It's added it to the installation queue, so I can click OK there. And then you just have to wait, and then you can go into the site. And what might be helpful here is for me to show you some sites that don't have SSL installed with the browser bar, so you can see what I'm talking about. So that really is how you install SSL for free, step by step. It really is just a couple of clicks and you're there. Super sonically simple. Okay, so if you have a look up here, you can see that padlock there. That shows that SSL has been installed on the Siteground website here. All right, so it says connection is secure. Your information, for example, passwords, credit card numbers, is private when it's sent to this site. That is what you need to have there. Certificate valid, and it tells you various other bits and pieces of information. That is what you want. What you don't want is what we saw on that other site. Now, I wonder if now you see here, I may have to share the whole page, I realise. If I click here, you can see it's not secure. And if I click here, you can't see it, but let's have a look. It says your connection to this site is not secure and you should not enter any sensitive information because it could be stolen by attackers. So that there tells you basically that this site is not trustworthy at this stage for providing any sensitive information. Okay, and we know this. So I think that this one has an SSL certificate already installed, but we have mixed content, and that's the issue here. That is why we don't see the secure browser. So if I go in here and I go into plugins, let's have a look, install plugins. So we're going to add a new one, add new. Now, if I just type here SSL, let's see what comes up. So I normally use really simple SSL. It's got 3+ million active installations, and it was last updated a week ago, and it's compatible with my version of WordPress. Those are all good indicators. It's a reliable plugin to install. So I'm going to install that now. And we'll wait for that to come up and activate. Okay, we'll activate it. Okay. Now, if we find it here, settings. So if I click on go ahead and activate SSL, the hope is that this should rectify the mixed content issue that we currently have, because there is an SSL certificate installed here. It's purely a mixed content issue. So let's have a look. It can require a little bit of playing around with, and you may even need to talk to your host. Let's have a look. Very odd. Let's go there. That actually might be a good sign that it's kicked me out. It can often mean that the mixed content is fixed. Let's have a look. Now let's see, has it been fixed? We'll just go here and we'll purge everything from our cache and see if that's fixed it. Let's go to the front end. It may not be. Oh, look, magic. As we see, our padlock is there. So the issue for us was not that an SSL certificate hadn't been installed, because this is actually a website on my own hosting, and that had SSL certificates automatically installed for everybody. So that wasn't the issue. The real issue was that there was mixed content. And by that I mean that there was both HTTP and HTTPS content on the site. And while that happens, you won't get a green padlock, because everything has to be switched over to HTTPS, because the HTTP protocol means it's not secure. The S on the end of HTTPS tells you that the information is being served over a secure network. So what this plugin does, that we had a look at, the SSL, the Fix SSL plugin, is it goes in and it corrects and changes any HTTP to HTTPS, and then hey presto, you get kicked out of your site. You have to log in again, and when you go back, you see that the padlock is there. There is an SSL certificate installed. Hopefully that makes sense. It really is very simple to do and so essential. And that is pretty much the end of my tutorial on how to install an SSL certificate. So let me stop that screen and I will share my final screen. Just going back to that one. So we've looked at the demo and we've talked about how mixed content, so HTTP versus HTTPS content, has to be resolved at application or website level, and we've gone through and we have done that. So that takes us to the end of this particular demo, and hopefully that has shown you how important it is to have an SSL certificate installed on your website, and also it's shown you how easy it is to implement it in practice. Anything else? If you have anything that you would like me to talk about next week or in the upcoming weeks, then please do let me know, and I am happy to put something together for you, no problem at all. And I'll just pop this one up here. This is how you can join our community. And then you get a say about what we talk about on our weekly lives. And I'm really active in the group, so if you ask any questions, then I'm always around and checking regularly and happy to help. And it's also nice to see people helping each other and sharing their experiences, so that's all super cool. So any questions, anybody, before I sign out for today? No? Well, I really hope to see some of you that have tuned in our group, if you're not already there. And I will finish now, and I look forward to tuning in with you all next week as well. Have a wonderful rest of the week. See you then. Bye-bye.